DS Johnson Mills is on the line with us here, and we had her on the show a while back to talk about her book, Choosing Me, and she's back with her new book, Choosing Love. How are you today?
Oh, hi, Toby. Yes, I'm doing very well, thank you.
Now, can you just introduce yourself and your book, Choosing Love, and tell us a bit about its genre and theme?
Well, I'm D.S. Johnson Mills, and my book, Choosing Love, is the second part of a series of books that I've written over the space of 2 years.
Hmm.
It's a contemporary romance novel, and it centers around a young lady called Dylan, just basically all the highs and lows that life throws at her.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's a love story, but it delves into emotional bonds of family and friends. But the strongest theme in the book is about being brave and courageous.
Absolutely. And can you tell us a bit more about your journey as a writer and what it was that actually inspired you to write this book?
Well, it started out as a bit of escapism, words
Yeah.
on paper, but then the characters started to come to life, and I wanted to know more about each of them. So, writing this novel helped me to explore myself on a deeper level. It made me laugh and cry, and some of the incidents in the novel I've experienced personally, and others were just a figment of my imagination. I don't know if I've portrayed it right, but I
Mm.
sure hope so.
Yeah. And what was the process of bringing the character of Dylan into life?
Yeah, that's a good question. Her physical appearance was probably the only easy part about bringing her character to life.
Yeah.
When you want to explore the essence of her as a person, who she is as a daughter, a sister, a best friend, and a lover, it wasn't very easy because, when we meet people in our daily lives, we only see one side. So I had to
Yeah.
know everything about this imagined person. The biggest challenge was how to make her believable,
Mm.
a protagonist that you want to root for. My first editor told me that she was not very likable. And then I realized I had failed. I had to go back to the drawing board because I think I made her too much like myself.
Yeah.
So then it was a reason I had to keep writing. So the more I wrote, it's like I spent more time with her. And then eventually I started to understand her, what makes her tick. So that was the process of creating this imagined person.
Yeah. And your book focuses on family drama and choosing love after all the struggles. So, why was it important for you to discuss these values in your novel? And do you think love is, I guess, the most important part of one's life?
Well, the family drama was basically the key to understanding her inner struggles. And I think that love is extremely important. I think it's almost crucial to a person's survival. I mean, everyone has it in some shape or form. I mean,
Mm.
Dylan's devotion to her mother, dealing with the loss of her grandmother, the tense interactions with her sister, and of course, the fractured relationship between Dylan and her father. I mean, there's a notion that we're all shaped from where we're coming from. And for Dylan, this is her reality, this is all the sort of sadness that she's got inside of her. But it's because she loves these people in her life. If I mean she didn't care about them, then it would just be like a one-sided thing. It would be like, okay, they're horrible, I'm just gonna go away. But she loved them, and that's why she it was so important for her to get over these obstacles. And I mean, it's called choosing love, but it's not just about choosing, a relationship type love,
Mm.
where, between a man and a woman or a woman and a woman. It was basically about her overcoming her obstacles and loving the people in her life who also love her despite, all the obstacles that she's faced. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I loved about Dylan is that even though she's having a hard time, if she sees somebody that she loves, having, a sad moment, she is always someone who would champion them. She would do whatever it takes to get them out of that funk. This is one of the
Mm.
things I really loved about her.
Absolutely. Now, how do the relationships between characters contribute to the overall narrative and themes of the book?
Right. So the characters in the book, I like to think of them as Dylan's circle of love.
Mm.
In book two, we are reintroduced to Dylan during one of her darkest moments. in the very first chapter of the book. And then when we fast forward to the present, she's having a tough time because she had to yet again give up something that she loves very dearly. But this time she has her best friend Toby. She has someone to lean on. Whereas
Yeah.
before, when her grandmother died, she wanted her mother in her life, but this was not possible. And so she didn't really have somebody to lean on. Whereas now she's going through another difficult time, but it's slightly different because now she has Toby, who's there in her corner, to sort of bolster her up. So that's how I kind of um, keep the themes between the characters going. The loyalty between Dylan and Toby, and not just between Dylan and Toby, the way she can form bonds with other characters like Marcus's sister
Mm.
and his family. I mean, obviously, everything that happens in the book we see from Dylan's perspective, but they are all integral to moving the plot along because obviously I can't just write about one person.
Yeah.
So choosing love is not just about whether Dylan will choose to be with Marcus, because obviously it is a love story, and of course it does have the romance in it, and Marcus is a very integral part of it. But there are also the other characters who Dylan forms relationships with, and it's about basically overcoming her obstacles and reaching that point in her life when she's no longer plagued by her past. Because throughout the book, that is always everything that goes wrong in her life. She kind of draws a parallel with her past. And so she always thinks this is happening because. So I wanted her to get to a place where she says, okay, this is happening, but I'm going to be, mature enough to deal with it. So that's
Yeah.
what the journey is all about.
Now, how do you balance crafting steamy romance scenes with exploring deeper themes in your storytelling to keep the readers captivated?
Okay. Well, there are some intimate scenes between Marcus and Dylan, but those they
Mm.
happened organically. I mean, it was important for him to have this effect on her because
Yeah.
she's so caught up in herself. I needed something that would basically break down all these barriers that she's got going on. And it was a way for me to portray the deeper connection between the two lovers. Because, I mean, obviously, when you're writing a novel, I'm only writing from Dylan's perspective. So I wanted a way to portray how intense Marcus was also feeling. So this is the reason why the scenes were particularly steamy. But I
Mm.
wanted it to be more than just sex. It had to be two souls joining, to create the emotional journey. But obviously, I wanted to make it sexy and fun just to keep the readers entertained, right?
Yeah. And what was your thought process behind crafting the pacing of the narrative, given the emotional ups and downs that the characters experience?
Well, that's an interesting one because I think it's a bit of a slow burn.
Mm.
I think just from the feedback that I've received from the first novel, patience is a virtue, though. This is how I think about it when I think about the story between them. I wanted to build up the suspense to keep the readers hooked, keep them captivated, because I do think that Marcus and Dylan's relationship, they moved very quickly into this relationship, but I didn't want to drag it out because I didn't really see the point. And also, I wanted it to be like Dylan was quite clear from the start about what she wanted from the relationship. Obviously, what she got wasn't what she bargained for. So obviously, that was a conflict in itself.
Yeah.
When it then becomes obvious that what she's feeling for Marcus is more than just what she bargained for. And obviously, this is what happens in life. When you get involved with someone and suddenly you have something that's more than you were expecting. So
Yeah.
that's the angle that I was working.
Yeah. And how do you believe this narrative will impact the readers?
I think true romance novelists will be able to appreciate the chemistry between
Yeah.
the protagonist and the characters. The platonic yet strong emotional bond with Toby and Dylan, falling in love with Marcus, of course. And
Mm.
there's a chapter in the novel called Going Home, and it's really my favorite because this is where Dylan takes Marcus to Boston to meet her father. And the dynamics played out between these wonderful scenes. I want readers to fall in love with my characters because they are relatable. So I think that's how it will work.
Yeah. And what are your aspirations as a writer? And do you have any upcoming projects that your readers can look forward to?
Well, the thing is to continue with the writing journey because it brings me immense joy. I mean, I'm currently working on the other books in the series. So,
Yeah.
yeah, watch this space.
Yeah. And do you have any advice for any aspiring writers who might be listening to embark on their own literary journey?
Perseverance is key. If it's something that you love, I'd say keep doing it. Sometimes the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. Well, where are we able to find this new book, Choosing Love?
Well, it's available on all the platforms, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, basically all the platforms where you can buy a book. It's all out
Excellent.
there. Yeah.
Well, many thanks for joining us. It's been great to have you on the show today.
Thank you.